right, guys. Good to see you. Good to meet you all. So, so what I want to talk about tonight is the parsha, as you said. But I want to focus on one part of the parsha that is what's also called Inyani Diyoma. It is what's going on right now. Okay, it's this parsha, but it also hooks into what we're living in, the time we're living in, both in the general and the specifics. Now, what am I talking about? The parsha has the holidays, the mo'adim, the holidays, and describes the holidays. So I want to talk about that from the parsha perspective, but I want to talk about it also because it's describing a period of time that we're in right now, the time between Passover, Pesach, and Shavuot, and it's in this week's Torah portion. And we'll talk about that, and we'll talk a little about coronavirus, and we'll talk about plagues and hopefully good things that hopefully will come out from all these things. So let me talk first in terms of the parsha. You have like this. The parsha lists the different holidays. It lists Passover, then it lists the holiday of Shavuot, and then something very weird happens in the middle of the holidays, right? It's listing them as Passover, then Shavuot, and then afterwards comes Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, and then Sukkot. That's the flow of the holidays. Passover, Shavuot, then Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, and then Tabernacle, Sukkot. Right in the middle, right after Passover and Shavuot, it pops into this discussion about a very strange law that seems to be totally misplaced. It's the law of leaving certain food for the poor. Okay? Now, this kind of food is different than other food. This is not like normal when you tithe your things, you give it to the poor. This is different. This is called leket shichan peah. These are the things in your field. Okay? The law was you have a field. If you forget to harvest a part of your field, you got to leave that for the poor. If you pick up the sheaves and a few of them drop, a couple drop, less than 3, you leave it for the poor. The corners of your field, leave for the poor. Now, why is that in this discussion after the Passover and Shavuot? Is there a discussion all of a sudden about this law? It could be a million laws. It always seems out of place. That's one thing I want to talk about. We'll get to explain that. We're going to explain something very, very deep and very, very important about Passover. Okay, let's understand. I don't know if you guys have noticed it, but you probably have. There are 3 festivals in Judaism and Torah. 3 festivals. Now, the festivals really essentially come out on the 15th of the lunar month. Now, why is that? That would have any idea. Why is the 15th most of the festivals? Out of the 3, we'll see 2 of them are the 15th. And Purim is also on the 15th. Why is it 15th? What happens the 15th of the lunar month? So, those of you who are experts in astronomy know right away that the lunar month, the moon is full on the 15th of the month. Why is that so significant? Because the relationship between God and his people are to reflect his light into the world. And we count to the moon because the moon takes the light of the sun and reflects it. And therefore, when we come to a full moon, it represents a time of reflection and receiving of God's light. That's what it means. Okay? Holidays in the Torah are not memorials. That's not correct. Let me explain to you what they are. I'm sure you've heard this many times, but we'll just say it again. Time is like a circle. The word shana, a year, is the word to repeat, shoneh, to repeat. So what happens is every time on this circle, when you get back to that point, you get to experience that experience one more time. So for example, Passover is a holiday of freedom. It's not an accident it comes out in spring. Why? Because the winter, you're like this, you're all stuck, and then freedom comes into reality. So it's not you're remembering freedom, you're reliving freedom. Every year it's got to be new freedom. Every year you have to exit Egypt again. As a matter of fact, the word Egypt, Mitzrayim, is the word Meitzar, a boundary. The Meitzar, the boundary of what's called the Yam, the last letters are the numbers 50, Yud and Mem, spell 50. It's the 50th level. We'll talk about it in a minute. 50 is a very significant number. We'll see. It's the ultimate, the 50th level, the highest level of constriction. That's Egypt. So it means in life, when you feel stuck, you're in Egypt. You're bound, you're trapped. Passover is a time every year when you touch the concept of freedom and you can relive freedom. And you'll set your whole freedom for the whole year. Okay? That is the idea of the holidays. They're not commemorances. They're PowerPoints in all of the times of the year that you come back to, you experience, and you're able to, in your own personal growth, relive and reconnect and come to a new level of that experience. Now, therefore, what I said is not exactly correct. It's not that time is a circle, it's a spiral. Because you come back to the same point, but it's always moving forward to get to the goal. We're not going nowhere. We're going someplace very, very specific. That's what God has planned for us. So you need the cycle of the year to experience the cycle, and every point in the cycle, every holiday is to relive, to reconnect, and to experience that again, to make yourself whole. That means you grow and the entire universe, the world, grows with us. Okay, good. Now, so Passover and Sukkot, the Holiday of Tabernacles, on the 15th of the month. 15th is the moon is full. Very nice. Now, if you want to even take this further, it's amazing. 15, by the way, is the amount of generations there was from Abraham until Solomon when he built the temple. There's 15 generations. Why was that? Because Solomon, his name was Shlomo. Shlomo means Shalem, whole. He was the whole moon. He was potentially going to be the Mashiach. Potentially could have been the Messiah. He had that power. If he wouldn't have made the few mistakes he made, he would have been it. He would have built a temple and we would have been there. And it was 15 generations to come to that completion. Okay, the class is not on number 15, though I can give you an entire class on 15 because it's fascinating. There are 15 steps going up in the temple, 15 songs of elevation that David wrote, all with this idea of completion. Male, female, connecting, coming to the full expression. Okay, so Passover is 15, and Tabernacle Sukkot is 15, but that's not the holiday of Shavuot. The holiday we get the Torah, it's not the 15th at all. As a matter of fact, the date is not even mentioned in the Torah. The date is not even the point. Okay? Why? It says that from Passover, you count 50 days to Shavuot. So the holiday of Shavuot is defined by the counting of 50. Now, truth is, we don't count 50, we count 49. That's called the days of this period called the Omer, when we count 49 days from Passover until Shavuot. The 50th day we don't count. That, so to speak, God counts. Out of our hands. It happens. We went 49 days. We counted the most we could. The 50th day happens without us. We can't count. I want to explain to you why. And what I'm going to teach you tonight is going to be a principle that goes through everything in your life. Everything. If people understood this principle, we would cut the divorce rate by 99%. It's a big promise, huh, Reuven? It's a pretty big promise there. So let me explain this principle. What is that? What is this principle? The principle of the dynamic from Passover to Shavuot. And then I'll explain to you why it mentions this gifts to the poor in the middle of this discussion. But let me preface it one more moment with one other question that is strange. Passover, as you I'm sure know, is known for one particular unique law. And those of us who eat this food for the 7 days of Passover, we feel it for many days afterwards. And it's what? It's the law of eating matzah and not eating bread. Now, why not? What's wrong with bread? But for some reason, God said that Passover eat matzah. And I want to tell you something amazing. The service in the temple, pretty much all the service, whenever they had bread, because they used offerings from flour, they were always made to be matzah. There's basically one, possibly two exceptions. Okay? Now, what's the exception? The exception is the holiday from Passover, the holiday called Shavuot. Passover, you have to eat matzah. Shavuot has a weird law, which doesn't appear in any place except for one other exception, in any of the temple services where the service was done with bread, not matzah. Why? Why is Passover so important? And all the certain temples of the matzah, all of a sudden you have this idea of Shavuot. No, that we have to have. No, that service got to be bread, two breads, wheat and bread. Let me explain. We just passed Passover. We just finished Passover. What is this law about? You don't eat bread. Let's talk about the difference between matzah and bread. Matzah is flour and water only. There's no yeast. It's the minimal you could get. When you add the yeast, what happens? The flour starts to rise, puffs itself up. This, the sages tell us, has to do with the idea of a person's ego. Why? When you eat matzah, you're eating the minimal thing. You're not saying, you know who I am? I don't know anything. I'm starting out as a beginner. I am not thinking I have all the answers. I don't have the answers. I have the basics. Bread represents the idea of there's a lot of extra fluff in the middle there. It's puffed itself up. It means the person has entered into the matzah his own world. And some of it is not so good. Some of it is negative ego. Some of it is his biases, his wanting for fame and fortune, whatever it is. So bread is therefore considered to be a dangerous type food sometimes, because although it's yummy and it's puffed up, but it represents the idea that you're no longer a minimalist. You're like putting your own thing and you're pushing your own ideas, and maybe you're getting your own ego into the thing. So what happens in Passover? Passover is the holiday where you start to say, I don't know. I gotta connect to God, and I have to first say, what do you want me to do, God? Not what I think. You've imagined I play guitar. So imagine if you play an instrument or anything you've learned in life. When you teach a kid, come in this first day for his guitar lesson, he goes, oh, I want to play this and this song. I was like, but first, you don't know how to hold the guitar. You don't know what to do with your fingers. You want to express your individuality? That's great. I want you to also. But first, you need to get your own ideas out and learn the basic system. Nullify yourself to the system, and then you'll be able to go and to actually express yourself because you put yourself in when it was appropriate to. The beginner learning system has to get rid of our egos. And that's what Talmud says. A person should train themselves to say, I don't know. saying you don't know is not a bad thing. It's a good thing. It's a good thing. That's why people that are silent and they listen, it's an amazing thing. And the mysticism in Kabbalah talks about like a vessel. When you have a vessel wants to receive something, when it's very full, it can't get anything. When it's empty, it receives. When you say, okay, I don't know, then you could learn from somebody. You could receive from God. When you nullify yourself to God, you say, I don't know, then you could start the process. That's Passover. Passover is the beginning holiday. It's when we first come to be a nation and we say, well, we don't really necessarily deserve this. As a matter of fact, when God came to take the Jews out of Egypt, they didn't have any mitzvot. They really had nothing so great they were doing. They were steeped into Egyptian culture. Unfortunately, like many Jews are steeped into American culture. Look, all of us, we have to, America's got a lot of great things to offer. Well, as you all know, because you're on this broadcast, a lot of stuff that's creeping in that we do not want. That we have to say, this is not in lines with what we believe. That's what we have to do. We have to stand up and do that. So the Jews were seeped into Egypt. So God gave them 2 commandments. He gave them the Paschal lamb to separate from idolatry, and then they had to get circumcised in order to eat it. But they had nothing else. So Passover is, I don't know. I'm beginning. When I start out, I nullify myself, I can receive. Then you go through the process of 49 days. Let me explain what 49 days is, okay? There are how many days in the week? 7 days in the week. How many notes are there in a musical scale? 7. The 8th note is the octave. There's 7 colors in the rainbow. There are 7 sides to every physical item, meaning a 3-dimensional item has 6 sides, and the 7th is the thing itself. It's where it's going, what it's about. This world is based on 7. That's the way this world is. Very, very deep things we could talk about in the future, but for now, leave it that 7 is the cycle of this world, and that's what it's based. That's why the circumcision, for example, is on the 8th day, because it's the supernatural. It's also why that the offerings can only be brought after 8 days of being the birth of this animal, because 8 is beyond. It's the supernatural, right? Super 8, not the whole motel, but Super 8, the real concept of that, the supernatural, beyond the 7 cycle. So what do we do here? We count 7 times 7. Why? Because in the beginning of this process, we get rid of our egos, we nullify our egos, and we say, I got to learn. And now I got to build myself up. I got to do 7 times 7, the ultimate investigation of our own actions, which is what we're going to be doing in the Monday class, talking about our traits, to refine our traits. 7 times 7 means that this period of time called the Omer, we have to work to acquire and to earn getting the Torah. And that's why it's an amazing thing. I got to tell you guys something. There's a lot of stuff in the world today that's fake, but the fake stuff, unfortunately, very often comes from true things that have been altered. So there's like on my block where I live here in Atlanta, there's all these fortune tellers, up and down the block. I don't know what's going to them, but there's fortune tellers, and they're going to read your astrology. And this stuff is all hocus pocus. But the truth is that there really is truth to the understanding the imprint of the stars, just that these people are making it up. And if you actually look, there's a book. Listen to this, ladies and gentlemen. There's a book that was written by Adam, the oldest book in history. It's called the Book of Malach Raziel, Angel Raziel. And inside that book, Adam, the first human being, has diagrams of the constellations, 12 constellations. So this is not, of course, it's been altered over the years so it's unrecognizable. But in the root of it, there's some truth to this. So watch what happens here. The month of, we came out of Passover, is the month of Aries, which is the sheep. Do you know what the Egyptians worshipped? The sheep. Why they worshiped the sheep? The sheep was the first constellation, and therefore they said that this is the power. God said, take the sheep and kill it as an offering to me to show that we don't believe in this stuff. But you know, a sheep is a very unique animal. They follow along. They have very little, of their own personalities. That they follow, they go in a flock. It's not one. They make those movies like years ago. That movie they had the Bee Movie and all these movies where these animals that just fit into the crowd, they become individuals all of a sudden. Sheep are those people. They follow like sheep. So the first month when Passover is called Nisan, usually it's like in April, is the month of the Aries because we follow along like sheep. We didn't have any individual greatness of our own. The next month, which is in Hebrew Iyar, English usually falls out with May, is Taurus, is the bull. Why? Because the bull does his own work. You put a yoke on the bull and he goes. Therefore, the second month, where we have to count the Omer, is the month that we have to earn it to become those great people that we could become. First month, you're a sheep. Yeah, come along with everyone. All the sheep, come on out. Yeah, we're sheep, moo, boo, bad, whatever it is. We're going along. The next month, we're sitting there, we're saying, okay, now we are ox, put the yoke on. We are going to count 49 days to make sure that we earn this gift that you gave us to bring us out of Egypt. Now, what's the month when we get the Torah, month of Shavuot? That is twins, Gemini, us and God. Now we're in a relationship. If I give you and you're just taking from me, there's no relationship. If I give to you a loan and you now go and you take this loan and you invest and you make yourself into your own person, then, okay, it's a different relationship. It's not you're just a taker, it's the sheep. It's not that you're separate from me because I gave you the loan. Now we have this new relationship. That's the process here. Passover, sheep, no earning. God just gave us. We didn't really deserve it. Now we're counting 49 days, 7 times 7. And we're working really, really hard. And then we get to the next month, the month of Sivan, where it's the month of Gemini, it's the twins, because now we're in a relationship. God gives the Torah. That's the holiday of Shavuot. Wow. Let me explain something a little bit more about this. That's why we have bread in the service of Shavuot, as opposed to matzah, which is what we had on Passover. Because if you try to get your own ideas into the system in the very beginning, it's not going to come out good. But if you nullified yourself in the beginning, you said, okay, I don't know, I'm eating matzah, I don't know, because I don't have any merits, you took me out of Egypt, and then I work and I work and I work, then I have a possibility of expressing my unique nature at the end of this project. And I could do it because I also contributed, but I didn't contribute like, the kid who wants to play guitar and the first day he's, just not learning because he's trying to show off. I've nullified my ego. I've learned it. And now every person has their unique way to see the world. I can express it. And that's why the service on Shavuot is the service that is done with bread, not with matzah, leaven. Beautiful. Okay. Now, let me explain how this has to do with everything in our lives. Everything. Mystics tell us that everything is based in this process. What happens is there's a flow that you get that is the inspiration, and then it leaves. Why does it leave? Because if the inspiration stays there, then it's not you. You didn't do anything. The inspiration is to show you what can be. It's like you're trying to go to a place and you're moving, you're walking in the dark, and you know there's a beautiful palace, but you can't see it. It's pitch dark. What happens? A lightning bolt comes out, and you see it for a second. Now you know where you're going. Now you have to go and make the effort to get there. So the lightning bolt is the inspiration to show you what it can be. But if the inspiration stays there and you don't add the perspiration, you don't make the effort, then we're nothing. And we're just takers. That is the process in everything in life. And as I said to you before, this is why, believe it or not, why we have the divorce that we have today. Just think about the terminology people use. Okay, what do they say? People say, well, I fell in love and then I fell out. Well, yes, that's probably true. Because listen to what we're saying. What do you mean you fell in love? You could fall into a ditch, into a pit. What do you fell into love? What does that mean? Well, whoops, I fell into it. Yeah, you fell into me, you just fall out of it. Because you fell in. You missed the point. The feeling, the high that a person feels, the infatuation they feel in the beginning is the inspiration to show what this relationship could be if they work on it. And that is going to change. And now you have to put the work into it the same way we have Passover to holiday of Shavuot to start the process. And people don't get it. Any good artist knows they have an inspiration. I was working on this song. I wrote this song like months ago. And I wrote it, and that inspiration, I wrote it, and like it's been sitting around, and it's been tedious to work on it to get it what I want it to be. I was very happy. Yesterday it popped into my head, but I was working on it, because the inspiration is the first thing. But then if you're going to put the effort in, then it becomes yours. Otherwise, it's not. And that's the way the whole world is built. People do not realize this. That's the system. You'll get the inspiration, sages call the light from above, and then you have to bring it back from below. That's the way the world runs. That is the story of Passover leading into Shavuot. Now, this really comes out to be something that also affects us all the time. And this is what I mentioned to you before. I said we count 49 days. We don't count the last day. Why not? I did so good, I've been counting 49 days. I fixed myself, and I did this, and I did that. And then the last day, God says you can't count it. Why not? Because now you're going to the Super 8. You're going beyond. This you have to realize, even when you make your work and your effort, it's because God allows you to make the work and effort. And this is a hard thing for human beings because it pulls in both ways, and it's very, very real. God says, I want you to make yourself great. So you say, okay, great. So I did it. I learned and I worked and I've been trying. And then all of a sudden we're back with ourselves because we did it all ourselves. So this is the weird dynamic in life, the weird dynamic where God says, I am giving you, I am the source of all the things. At the same time, I'm giving you a place where I want you to work. And you have to do that work. And if you don't, then we have a problem. Then we're not really people. By the way, this is really in some religions that I'm sure that you know about. They have this problem. They deal with this issue, but in a very different way, in a very wrong way. To say that you can't do it. You can't be successful. And God just says, forget it. That's not good. That's not called grace. That's bad. Why? Because if I go and I tell somebody, when I have my little kid helping me to wash the dishes, the kid's 3 years old, good. As long as they don't break dishes, I'm happy. When the kid's 15, I expect they're actually going to wash the dish, you know? Now, I might help them, might coax them, but in the end, I want them to do it. Because as long as I have to say, well, you can't really do it, you need grace, you need me to say, you know what? Then I'm not saying you're a person. Gosh, God loves us. He wants us to be successful, but he wants us to be successful. So he gives us all of the parameters that we can make it. And therefore, when we're making it, we have to feel good saying, yes, I did this. But then don't get lost and say, oh, it was all me. That's also why the story, in the middle of the story of Passover and Shavuot, comes this law about leaving over the things for the poor. It's amazing. It's different than giving a gift to the poor. God said, this is yours, give it over. This is God saying, leave it. Leave it in your field. It's not yours, it's mine. I want you to give it to the poor because I want you to know that even though you worked your field, you did the thing, really is all mine. And leave it to the poor. You don't own it. That's the dynamic we have to get. We have to have both concepts. The idea of a person going and saying, you know what? Whatever God gives me, he's giving me what's best for me. He gives me what I need. He gives me what's good for me. And he gives me a place in life where I can make my effort. And he wants to make my effort. When I make my effort, I still have to realize that the success of that effort is based on his will. That's the dynamic of Passover all the way to Shavuot. The two poles, two different sides of God giving to us the inspiration and us making the effort, and then realizing we come then in the month we get the Torah to have a unity of the twins in this relationship with God from his giving and our effort.